Hello everybody, welcome to the video, welcome. My name is Mirika Ryushi, I'm your low energy and sleepy botany dragon, and welcome to the very first episode of MiriRedraws. So what is this series? This series is just going to be me taking old art and redrawing to see if I have improved over the years. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, feel free to come along the way. But what this series is going to be about is that I am going to be having recordings of me talking about my art, see what I like and what I don't like, and basically showing a speed paint as well to see if I have improved over time. The first art that would be the debut, I guess, is going to be this one right here. This one is titled I See You. Why is it called this way? Well, the whole point of this artwork is to convey some kind of playfulness. So I believe what I was trying to go for with the original art was that like you were like looking for me, you don't know where I am. You look up and you notice that I'm sitting in a tree looking down at you, saying I see you, but you don't see me. It's supposed to be very playful, very lighthearted. However, I think this art is long overdue for a redo, mainly because I have been using this art to promote myself for the longest time, and I believe that I have improved myself over time. Let's start with the number one thing that I am going to point out in a recording, which is the pose. Hello, this is the recording segment of this video. So, what I immediately noticed from this artwork is, especially with the body, is that I look very wide, not chunky, wide. The thing, and what gives me that impression is basically the body around here. There's nothing wrong with it inherently, I will say that. It's just that it just applies that the back is here. Whoops. That the back is around here and the stomach is here. Nothing wrong with it, but I do wish that you can see more of the torso around here. So that is something that is going to be seen in the redraw of this. And another thing that I noticed is that my shoulders look very stiff, you know? For my body to be curved like this, my shoulders shouldn't be that stiff, because it implies that I'm very relaxed. But for some reason my shoulders are like kind of like tensing up, and that's not really what I'm going for. You know, if I was to go back, I would lessen the tensity of the shoulder, just so I look even more relaxed in this particular art. Because this art is supposed to be like just me being playful, you know, there's nothing tense about it. Another thing with the pose is this hand right here. Where is it going? What is it holding on to? Nothing. It's literally holding on to nothing because I am sitting on a branch. So for the redraw, I'm going to actually angle the hand down so it kind of goes in flow with the tree, so it doesn't look like I'm holding on to thin air. Another thing with the pose is the legs. The legs are a bit short and a little too chunky for me, because especially with the knee, like you barely see any knee right here, and the ankles are a bit chunky. So, and also with like the whole thing, it also doesn't really flow well with the dress that I'm wearing. So overall, it is something I'm working on with the redraw. Another thing with the pose that I immediately noticed is this arm right here. Is just, where is it going? It's not really going to be holding onto the branch, because the branch, like assuming that I'm sitting very close to the edge of the branch, I'm not really holding on to anything. So I'd rather keep that arm right closer to the body for the redraw. The final thing I noticed about this particular pose is my head. I feel like my head is a bit too big, you know, like from ear to ear, it's too wide. At least in my opinion, I feel like it's too wide. And from chin to the top of the head, it's too long. So during the redraw, I will be shrinking down the head a little, adjusting the pose, just to keep things still like serene, but also kind of playful at the same time. So when it came to redrawing it, I took into account my criticism about the pose, and I ended up just fixing the anatomy issues that I didn't say in the recording, and just fixing over like the head shape, the length of the body, the legs, you know, that kind of thing, but also fixing up the pose because I felt like the original pose didn't really do me justice. Like I said in the recording, it made me look really wide, and I did not really like that now. So yeah, I also adjusted the arm placement and also just overall like a few adjustments here and there. The second part of this art is going to be anything that is not the pose, which is like the hair, the eyes, the face, anything like that. So take it away, Recorder Miri. Hello, this is the recorder section. It is just basically everything that is not the pose and the background. So it's basically what I'm wearing, what my hair looks like, my accessories, all that fancy stuff. So when it comes to the hair, I noticed immediately is that it's very stiff, which is what I'm noticing with the whole artwork, is that the artwork is just very stiff. And that was not my intention, of course it wasn't. But when it comes to the hair, for example, I feel like the hair is just way too straight. You know, when you're drawing hair, you prefer to draw like a little more like wavy, because hair naturally waves along with the body, even if you have very straight hair. And since I don't have very straight hair, like my hair is kind of to the side, I'm going to adjust the hair in which it kind of encompasses like the head, but also looks a little more natural, like around here. And I also feel like my hair is too long, you know, because even though it goes past this part of the dress, it just looks way too long for me. And I think that's just because this part of the dress is too long. When looking at the original ref sheet right here, it's not that big compared to my whole body. Like, if anything, it's supposed to end around here, but it just looks way too large on body. Another thing that I noticed is also the necklace being way too long. You know, the necklace would realistically probably end around here. Just because like it looks really long, it's gonna dangle quite a bit. It's just not very pleasing to the eye. At least in my opinion, it's not very pleasing to the eye. Another thing that I noticed in terms of the outside is the glasses. The glasses makes my face look really wide. You know, so right here, it's very thin. So it makes my face look really wide when in reality my face is not that wide. So that is something I need to consider for the redraw. Another part that also bothers me is basically these parts right here, my wings, my tail. My wings are too small. You know, that's the basic gist of it. My wings are way too small. Like in reality, my wings should probably end up to my elbow, but it doesn't reach anywhere near it. So I would try to put that into consideration for the redraw as usual. Along with the tail doesn't, it's just kind of there. It doesn't really flow naturally with the tree. So just like hair is supposed to be curvy in a way, so just like this, it's supposed to flow naturally with the tree. So it also gives off the illusion that I am sitting, because right now it kind of looks like just stamped in front of the tree, not really sitting on it, you know? Another thing I noticed with the accessories is the shoes. Like, this is where my knee is, but for some reason, in this, with the other leg, the shoe is very, very far low. It's very low. So just gotta make sure that these two are quite even. But overall, other than the accessories and a few nitpicky parts, like it is just all of the proportions, especially keeping true to my model. I definitely fixed up the face in terms of like the proportions and where everything should line up. And as you can see with the speed paint, I did have to adjust the face multiple times because it just didn't look right. I also adjusted the wings and the tail like I initially wanted to, making the wings more proportionate to my body and whatnot. Here we have my hair, which I kind of lessened the volume of it a little, but I think it still makes sense in terms of like it's still very flowy, not very straight like in the original art. with the dress, I still wanted to keep it a little tasteful. I'm gonna be real. Like, you know, just a little tease. You still see the thighs, you still see everything, but it doesn't look really awkward in terms of like how the body's positioned. You know, it's still very playful, still very tasteful, I'll say. You know, I will say it is supposed to be kind of tasteful in the sense of like, oh, you see a bit of thighs, but that's just my art, you know, that's just my model. You know, I also put in all the gold and adjusted where the necklace should be. Yeah, overall this is just a quick fix for me, and also here's just me cleaning up the sketch, which is literally just me cleaning up everything. Then we have the line art. I didn't say much about the line art in the original recording, so I'll be talking about it here. With the line art, I just kind of just traced over my sketch, which is what I always do, you know, but also adjusting what needed to be done. As you can see, there's like me redoing lines like a million times. I might put in a flash warning, likely in the beginning, because, you know, I try to slow down this speed paint as much as possible, but it's not that possible, to be honest. But yeah, so in the lineup phase, I was just going over basically everything, putting down like all the like necessary lines, adjusting what I didn't like about the original sketch, and just like honestly just doing whatever I could. So feel free to watch the rest of this part. Hey, this is editing Miri here because I forgot to record like a segment for the coloring because I'm a dumbass. But for the coloring, I know people are gonna ask how I'm doing this. So I am using this tool, which is kind of like a lasso tool with a fill-in feature to color everything. I have put the screenshot of what I use on screen, so feel free to look into it if you use Clip Studio Paint. So the next sections, they kind of go hand in hand, but I kind of recorded them separately, so I would be showing both just in case, is the background and the shading. This is the next recorded part. This is the background. So with the background, I'm gonna be real, it's horrendous. Why am I up in the heavens? Where are the other trees? Why is it only one tree? Why is the sun so bright, you know? So there's a lot going on that I don't like, you know? It's like, why am I so close to the root, not the root, like the branch of the tree, at least where it starts to grow? Why, like, where's the leaves right here? Like I said, where's the other trees? Why am I up in the heavens? Why is this so bright? And what's wrong with this tree right here? When it came to the background initially, when I made this, I used to just paint on the background, not really caring how it looked. But now that I look at it, it looks really bad, especially with the different brushes. Like the leaves, horrible, horrendous. It doesn't fit cohesively with the branch, like with the whole trunk of the tree. So overall, there's a lot to change with the background, and yeah, no, I can't wait to redo that for the redraw. The shading is very flat. I'm gonna be real, it's very flat, because like you can barely see it right here, and it's supposed to be all about values when it comes to shading. So if I were to put this in black and white, I doubt you will see the shade. If I were to put this in black and white, I doubt you would see the shading. Yeah, you barely see it. There's barely any difference. And by the way, this is a good exercise when you're doing art, is to find the values of the work. Also with the values, I do notice that I don't stand out as much as I would like compared to the tree. You know, like the only thing that's actually pretty good, at least in my opinion, is that yes, you see my face right here, but down here I kind of just blend in with the environment, which yes, as a botany dragon, I should blend in, but as an art piece, I should be very different from the tree and myself and my dress. Like, a good part of this is that I'm very distinct from the background, you know? that you can tell that this is my arm and this is the background. But when it comes to like shading overall, I'd say just, you know, have more values in my shading, because like it's supposed to be two different colors, but you don't see that, you know? Like, and it just overall doesn't really show any cohesion, because even the shading from the leaves looks really horrendous. Like, what is a random leaf doing here? You know? Like, what's a random leaf doing here? Like, why is this randomly open? Why is my face so bright compared to everything else? So when it comes to the shading, is just overall, when it comes to shading, is overall, I just need to work on my values, which I hope that can be seen with the redraw. When it came to the background, I actually put myself in grayscale to figure out the values of like the background and the character, not character, and myself. You know, I have to be not really in the center, but I have to stand out compared to the background. So that was what I did, and I just put down the blobs. The background will be done later on in the speed paint. But yeah, but when it came to shading, I think I have definitely improved when it comes to shading. I have definitely tried my best to put in as much contrast as possible in terms of the values of each color, and still showing off like that, like some parts are going to be darker than others, you know. Also, if you want a tutorial on like how I do the shading with the wings and the dress, please let me know in the comments. I know it looks kind of weird when it goes from black to like blue, for example, but you know, this is just how I do things. And yeah, if you want a tutorial on that, please let me know. I can make a show about it. But when it comes to the gold, I love shading gold. Like, it's always fun to make stuff shiny, you know? And I hope that it looks as shiny as possible here. Another thing that I do, which is my personal preference, is that I color in the line art. So, you know, that's always a fun thing to do. And here with the background, I am finally shading the back, which I'm using two different painting brushes because I prefer to paint my backgrounds rather than just do line art, because I feel like that's way too much time. Overall, I think I definitely did improve, but what do you guys think? Here's the two art pieces side by side, and yeah, I hope to know your opinions pretty soon. And here's the speed paint all by itself in under 1 minute. Anyways, that is going to be it for the very first episode of MiriRedraws. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!